Is it possible that the tool designed to make us feel more connected is actually making us lonelier? That's the question at the heart of a new research study from OpenAI and MIT's Media Lab. ChatGPT, the AI-powered chatbot millions turn to for everything from productivity help to late-night companionship, is now being linked to rising levels of loneliness and reduced real-world social interaction. The study published in March 2025 isn't speculative. It's data-driven. Researchers examined over 40 million ChatGPT interactions and surveyed 4,000+ users to understand how AI usage might be shaping human emotion and behavior. Their findings: users who consistently engaged in emotionally expressive conversations with ChatGPT reported higher levels of loneliness, and those who used the chatbot regularly were also found to spend less time socializing with people in real life. These results were drawn from a randomized control trial, the gold standard in scientific research, designed to observe the real psychological impact of AI-driven interactions. With ChatGPT becoming more embedded in daily life and available on mobile apps and even in voice form, researchers are now asking, is this just convenience or something deeper? What OpenAI and MIT found. The collaboration between OpenAI and MIT Media Lab was structured around both large-scale data analysis and controlled behavioral experiments. On one hand, the team examined tens of millions of interactions users had with ChatGPT. On the other, they launched a controlled 4-week study tracking participant behavior over time. Participants were split into groups. Some used ChatGPT in voice mode, others in text mode, while a control group avoided chatbot use entirely. Over the course of the study, researchers tracked users' self-reported loneliness levels, their amount of in-person socializing, and their emotional responses to conversations with the AI. One key finding stood out immediately: emotionally expressive conversations, those involving sharing personal feelings, worries, or emotionally intense topics, correlated with increased feelings of loneliness. In contrast, users who used ChatGPT for more transactional or functional purposes, such as getting help with tasks or summarizing information, showed less emotional impact. Interestingly, female participants in the study were found to be slightly less likely to engage in social interactions after regular chatbot use. That doesn't mean causation, but the association was strong enough to flag potential behavioral changes worth studying further. Another layer emerged when the mode of interaction was compared. Voice-based conversations where users spoke to ChatGPT out loud were initially linked to lower loneliness scores than text-based interactions. However, the effect waned over time, suggesting that the initial novelty or sense of human-like presence may wear off, or even transition into emotional dependency. What's especially compelling here is that the study did not set out to demonize AI. In fact, Kathy Fang, one of the lead MIT researchers, stated clearly that the study was meant to explore the social-emotional consequences of emerging technologies, not to label them good or bad. So, why does emotionally expressive AI use seem to make people feel worse? The answer lies in how we emotionally process interactions with non-human entities. Emotional dependency and AI companionship. The idea of forming emotional bonds with machines isn't new, but in 2025, it's happening more often and more intensely than ever before. ChatGPT, with its natural-sounding responses and 24/7 availability, creates a dynamic that some users start relying on for emotional support. The MIT OpenAI study noted that individuals who frequently engage ChatGPT for emotionally loaded conversations, sharing fears, personal issues, or relationship problems, were more likely to exhibit signs of emotional dependency. This means they were using the chatbot not just as a tool, but as a stand-in for actual human companionship. Researchers pointed out that these users often returned to the chatbot not because they needed information, but because they felt heard. This feedback loop: user opens up, chatbot responds empathetically, user feels validated, user returns again, creates a pattern that over time may reduce the desire to engage with real people. Why voice chatbots might feel more human? When ChatGPT speaks to you with a warm, well-modulated voice, the experience can feel surprisingly real. That's because voice triggers different neural pathways than text. In the MIT study, users who interacted with ChatGPT in voice mode initially reported lower loneliness than those using text. This finding aligns with broader research in human-computer interaction. Auditory cues like tone, inflection, and pacing are closely linked with perceived intimacy. A chatbot that sounds human creates the illusion of presence even when no person is actually there. But this comfort doesn't last. Over time, researchers observed that voice users experience increased emotional reliance and even higher loneliness compared to other groups. The voice interactions weren't just more engaging, they were more immersive, which made the absence of real human reciprocity more noticeable and even more nuanced insight. Users who interacted with a voice of the opposite gender were more likely to form emotionally dependent patterns. This detail, while subtle, raises interesting questions about how users project emotional context onto voice-based AI. The researchers caution that this doesn't mean voice bots are inherently harmful, but the immersive nature of voice interaction makes it more likely for users to form attachments, particularly when the AI is perceived as empathic, responsive, and always available. These early findings have triggered ongoing conversations among psychologists, technologists, and ethicists about how to manage the growing emotional footprint of AI in daily life. Experts weigh in on the bigger picture. While the data speaks for itself, the implications of this research are being closely analyzed by experts across psychology, AI ethics, and human-computer interaction. According to Dr. Andrew Rogoyski from the Suri Institute for People-Centered Artificial Intelligence, the growing emotional engagement with AI warrants careful attention. He emphasized that we're just beginning to understand the long-term psychological effects of interacting regularly with emotionally responsive chatbots. Rogoyski pointed out that technologies like ChatGPT are not inherently bad or good. It's how we use them and how they integrate into our lives that determines their impact. When people begin substituting these interactions for real relationships, it can subtly reshape how they navigate social behavior. That doesn't mean using AI leads directly to isolation, but the patterns are worth studying further, especially as more users turn to AI not just for answers, but for connection. Dr. Theodore Kosko, a public health professor at the University of Oxford, also weighed in. He acknowledged that AI systems like ChatGPT might offer real value to individuals facing isolation, such as elderly users or those with disabilities, but stressed that these tools should ideally supplement, not replace, meaningful human contact. Kosko warned that replacing social interaction with AI conversations could reinforce emotional withdrawal in vulnerable individuals, especially those already experiencing loneliness. One of the major concerns shared by several experts is the invisibility of the shift. When someone spends more time with a chatbot, they may not realize they're socializing less with real people. Over time, this gradual shift can erode important emotional and psychological habits like empathy, active listening, or even the ability to read nonverbal cues, skills that are essential for navigating human relationships. In light of these perspectives, the OpenAI and MIT study doesn't just point to a problem. It opens the door for ongoing discussions about the boundaries of AI companionship and what ethical design might look like in the years ahead. Parasocial relationships in the age of AI. Traditionally, parasocial relationships were one-sided emotional bonds people formed with public figures such as celebrities or fictional characters. Now, this concept has evolved because users are forming similar attachments to AI chatbots that respond in real time with empathy, memory, and natural language. Unlike a YouTube star or actor on TV, ChatGPT talks back. It asks follow-up questions. It remembers your tone, and even though it's not sentient, its design encourages the illusion of mutual connection. That's where the line gets blurred. Researchers from the study observed that parasocial dynamics were most pronounced among users who consistently used ChatGPT as an emotional sounding board. These users often anthropomorphized the chatbot, referring to it as a friend or companion in surveys. Some even said they felt understood by the AI in ways they didn't feel with the people around them. But there's a core problem here. AI cannot reciprocate emotion. It simulates understanding using patterns and probabilities, not genuine empathy. Over time, users may come to expect human-like responses from a system that cannot truly relate. This mismatch between perceived and actual understanding may lead to emotional confusion, especially in those who are already lonely or emotionally vulnerable. The concern isn't that people are imagining too much. It's that AI by design encourages projection. The interface is built to feel smooth, responsive, and personal. When you're having a rough day and the AI always responds with calm and care, it's easy to start forming patterns of dependence. This shift is subtle but significant. If millions of people start looking to AI for emotional validation, we may see changes not just in how individuals feel, but in how society as a whole prioritizes and understands human interaction. Is this the future of companionship? The rise of emotionally capable AI raises a difficult but necessary question. Is this something to be concerned about, or is it simply the next step in how technology evolves? According to the researchers involved, the answer isn't black and white. The MIT team was careful to note that not all ChatGPT use leads to negative outcomes. Many users, especially those using the tool for productivity, creativity, or learning, did not report any noticeable impact on loneliness. In fact, some participants even said the chatbot helped them clarify their thoughts or manage stress during solitary work. But the turning point seems to come when emotional reliance becomes routine. When a person repeatedly turns to AI instead of reaching out to a friend, a colleague, or even a support group, it suggests a behavioral shift. Over time, this can reinforce emotional isolation instead of relieving it. The key takeaway here is that AI is becoming a mirror, not just for what we search for, but for how we feel. And that mirror doesn't push back. It doesn't challenge us, misunderstand us, or drift away like a friend might. That makes it feel safe but also one-sided. The voice-based version of ChatGPT especially accelerates this emotional connection. In the controlled study, participants who spoke to the AI rather than typing reported faster bonding and often a deeper emotional response. But as mentioned earlier, that initial comfort came with longer-term emotional risks, including higher loneliness scores as the weeks progressed. So while companionship from AI might feel like the future, the research suggests it should come with boundaries, awareness, and context, not replacement. If you've made it this far, let us know what you think in the comment section below. For more interesting topics, make sure you watch the recommended video that you see on the screen right now. Thanks for watching.